and then he was saved. He would have given his life to stop the Muslim-Hindu fight at the time. Tragically, a few years later, a fanatic Hindu murdered him. But his legacy till today, for me, the greatest pacifist, the greatest peacemaker ever, is Mahatma Gandhi. He showed us, he taught us about the power of non-violence. I gave a speech a few weeks ago in Geneva at the Human Rights Council. Most of the speech was about my own country. I touched on 3 international issues, one being the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. On the Palestinian side, I said, on the Palestinian problem, I said the Palestinian legacy tragedy is a legacy of World War II, a legacy of the persecution of Jews in Europe, leading to Holocaust, and then the creation of the State of Israel. The Palestinians are largely the only people in the world still suffering the legacies of World War II. 60 years after the creation of the State of Israel, Palestinians still do not have a state of their own, living in freedom, in dignity, in security. But to those Palestinians who, in spite of the years of humiliation, of suffering, refuse to surrender to violence, to hatred, I pay tribute to them. To those Palestinians who, because of the indignities inflicted upon them, have taken up arms and used violence, I tell them it is futile. The Katyusha rockets will not win them over, the Israelis. I advise them better to be inspired by the great lessons of Mahatma Gandhi. Imagine 4 million Palestinians in West Bank and Gaza follow the pacifist approach. Sit down, civil disobedience, no violence, silence. They would break the might of the Israeli army. For the Israelis, I said, when Palestine is free, Israel will be finally again free and peace with itself and with its neighbors. So that's, I think, my best, message or example of the futility of using force when we want to sometimes ascertain our rights. I'm not a pacifist as Mahatma Gandhi. Sometimes I believe the use of force is necessary, as it was Vietnam's intervention here to end the Khmer Rouge genocide, and for which Vietnam was criticized by the international community. It was Tanzanian troops who ended genocide in Uganda under Idi Amin. So sometimes it's necessary. It's too simplistic to say every use of force is wrong. In that, I 100% agree with the speech by President Barack Obama in Oslo when he received the Nobel Peace Prize, when he distinguished between when to use force and when not to. Next question.
My respect to His Excellency President of East Timor. Thank you very much for your gracious speech. My name is Kanika. I'm a law student in 4th year. And my question is, how do we prioritize the areas of development with a
I'm glad you said you are a law student, not an economics student. I'm provoking the economists. Well, in answering your question, we have defined 6 priorities in our strategic development plan. Priorities that are so self-evident. One is infrastructure development, meaning roads, bridges, a new port, a new airport, power, electricity, and telecommunications. We are working in all of these fronts under the infrastructure subject, including water and sanitation, agriculture, and all that is related to agriculture. That includes irrigation and research in agriculture, but also provision of tractors, hand tractors, to the farmers. We have also introduced some innovative approach, and that we are able to do because we have a cash to do it. Other countries who are strapped with resources, maybe they cannot do it. What we decided to do was we purchase from the farmer any surplus he or she wants to sell. Because many farmers complain. When we tell them to produce more, they say, and where we are going to sell it? There is no market. So the government buys, stored in warehouses, in case of food shortage in a given year, or we then supply to hospitals and to schools. We have introduced in every school in the country what we call a meal per child. Every child in the country has 1 meal a day, because many, many children, they go to school without having had breakfast. They are so poor. So all of these are interrelated. But also other priorities is education and health. A few years ago, we were rated #1 in the world, according to here, the 206-207 statistical data, in terms of percentage of budget dedicated to education and health. But the percentage has gone down, and I'm not happy with that. But at the same time, the budget went up significantly, 3 times, or twice, 3 times. So the amount of money is still significant that go to education and health. How this is accomplished, how these decisions is made about the priorities. Well, one is obvious common sense, but also, as I said earlier, in consultations with civil society, with NGOs, through the parliamentary process. Right now, the Prime Minister is traveling all over the country, sharing with the people our strategic plan. The common people, they tell their views, their input. The Prime Minister incorporated, if there is anything to be incorporated, if anything new, or any strong criticism of some elements of it. Then it goes to the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers approve. Then it goes to the Parliament, debate in the Parliament. Hopefully it becomes a consensus document, and then it is budgeted for execution starting in 2011. So that's how we prioritize and make our decision-making process. Well, I believe each of us living in a home, in a neighborhood. That's where we can start being a peacemaker. One of my heroes, one person I admired a lot, is the deputy mayor of Manila, Philippines, Oscar Moreno. I met him by chance, first time 3 years ago when I did a state visit to the Philippines. He was there to welcome me, to put flowers to a hero's monument. After the ceremony ended, I told him, "You look more like a movie star," because he's young and good looking. And he said, "Yes, I'm actually a movie star as well." And then I was told, as I entered the car, I was told by the minister who was accompanying me, his personal story, that he was a street kid, poor, no father, very proud of his mother, live in a very poor neighborhood. And I told the government member, I said, "Listen, I want to have a dinner with this gentleman." So they organized for me to have dinner with him that evening. And we talked more. And I asked him where he lived. He said, "Oh, I still live in the same neighborhood." And I said, "Can we go to your neighborhood?" And he said, "Yes." Of course, the Philippine security protocol completely almost in panic. But we did go. The whole motorcade went to his neighborhood. And he still lived in a very simple house, 2 rooms only, which he rents, in the same poor neighborhood where he grew up. He didn't move to a very rich, fancy neighborhood in his new capacity as deputy mayor or as wealthy movie star. The money he earned making movies, he first built a house for his mother. I asked him, "When you were a street kid, how did you eat every day?" He said, "Oh, I ate very well." He said he would go every evening to funerals. I don't know the tradition in Cambodia, but in the Philippines, like in many other countries, like Catholic countries, funerals are almost like